to be in recovery. This is why I wait for Recovery Wacky Wednesday. It's never that wacky, but it is Wednesday. Today, unfortunately, I am on my own. I'm missing my partner in crime, Felice. Unfortunately, her dad passed away, so our love and just she's in our hearts at the moment, her and her family, and we're just sending them much love during this difficult time. But it's great to be in the rooms and great to be with my friends, and always good to be in the community. And I just wanted to do a quick check around and see how we're all doing here and how things are for everyone. Do you want to just say a quick hi?
Hello, everyone. This week has so far been a little hectic, but today was a better day and it was more fun-filled and less stressful. So hoping the rest of the week will be better.
Awesome. Actually, I forgot to do the introduction as well. This is a meeting for emotional eaters, for compulsive overeaters, food addicts, bingers, purgers. I'm a binger, purger, food addict, drug addict. I'm an addict. And this is a place that we get together to deal with addiction and really get community support and learn tools and techniques in overcoming our challenges. Hi, Miss A.
Hello.
How's your week been?
My week has been pretty good actually. I felt pretty good this week, and obviously always ups and downs, but such is life. But I'm doing good.
And we just do a check. You don't have to speak, but you can with pleasure if you'd like to. Would you like to say hi?
Hi, I'm having a good week.
And it's great getting support in the rooms as well.
Yes.
So sometimes we come because this is where we need to be, and sometimes we bring support with us. So welcome. And another was A.
Hi.
Hi, so nice to have you with us. So I've been a little nervous today. So just so you know, I'm an emotional eater. So being on my own definitely has resonated with huge levels of anxiety and stress because I like having my crutch of Felice next to me. So it's been a little interesting. So I thought we'd try something a little bit different. I do go to the rooms, I do go to meetings. We both draw on different support that we get. I go to NA and Narcotics Anonymous. I also do OA, Overeaters Anonymous. Been to AA as well as see the psychologist, and whatever kind of support we need to get is what we do. And so far I've been reading this amazing book, which is Living Clean, The Journey Continues. And it's from NA, and I thought I'd share something, and so then I thought we could actually discuss it or see how it resonates with us. I also want to say hi to Karen. I forgot to, Karen, hi, how you doing? You want to do a quick check-in?
I'm doing okay. It's been tough, and I'm hanging it in, but I'm doing good. Thank you.
Tough in what ways? For the after the workshop, or
just staying abstinent, not using. So I'm hanging it in there by the skin of my fingernails sometimes, but I'm holding on. So just having to white knuckle it a little bit right now, but that's okay.
So let's go through the reading because there might be something here that resonates for you as well. Because sometimes it just speaks to me and I find that it helps. I'm getting old, so glasses have to come off so I can actually see what I'm doing. So it's a couple of pages, but we knew from the beginning that we were describing a problem not related to any single substance, but a disease that left untreated would manifest in one symptom or another until it killed us. A focus on one symptom or substance is too narrow for us. Just as we understand that addiction affects all aspects of our lives, we can see that recovery affects everything we do. Our relationships with our families, our work, our spirituality, even our own bodies are profoundly shaped by where we came from and the ways in which we addressed our disease. Just as the rewards of our recovery are often beyond our wildest dreams, we know that the impact of our recovery on our own lives and on those around us is beyond measure. We may never know the good we do just by staying clean and living a principled life to the best of our ability. Our gratitude for our new way of life motivates us to keep giving more, living more, and loving more. So one of the other things is recovery is a lifelong context. It's a lifelong process. And it says we begin by staying clean, and from there, the program gives us tools we need to find the answers that are just right for us. The most important thing about living clean is that we are alive to do it. for many of us that are addicts, we've been to the point where we've nearly killed ourselves either through ill health, or through binging and purging, which has just really put us to a place where mentally and physically we've also been at that lowest point. I know for me as well, wanting to die and really wanting to end things because of the way that I felt on the inside was where my disease actually took me. And actually being here is part of the miracle that I honestly get to enjoy every single day as long as I work my program. And we do recover to live full and rewarding lives. We have learned that we really can survive anything and stay clean. It's never too late to start over, because sometimes with the food, some people do relapse. It's not inevitable. It doesn't mean everyone has to do it, but for some people it does. There was also another really interesting part here, that no matter where we are on our journey, we believe that it can get better, and we can get better. It's learning new ways of doing things. It's a path of progress, a way of life. Many of us come in with just the barest hope that we can get the pain to stop in the beginning. Our willingness is born out of suffering and fear. Commitment to recovery is essential for us. Maintaining recovery as a priority may come to mean different things for us over time. And the message that we carry is in three parts in terms of being an addict. Any addict can stop using. This is the three-part, and the hope that we get through recovery is that we can stop using, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. We talk a lot about the first two because stopping is an emergency when we get there. We know that we absolutely have to, and losing the obsession is necessary for us to be able to enjoy our lives. But the hard work does not end there. Finding a new way to live is not something we just do once. Some of us experience great upheavals as we try again and again to find a life that makes sense for us, but we continue to carry the message, using our experience to help others. And this leads into what you were saying, Karen, because part of being the food addiction, as in this is a very insidious disease. It's got that mental component, which is that obsession. So by putting the foods into our body so that our bodies crave, for many of us, we all know what our trigger foods are. And what are some of your trigger foods?
Mine, popcorn, chips, and chocolate. Those are my big three.
And
potatoes, cheese, or not really cheese, but potatoes, chicken, fried greasy chicken.
So yours are the fried foods.
Yeah. Yep.
And what are yours?
I feel like I've never really been able to identify what they are, because I feel like if I want to binge or whatever, just sort of whatever's inside or whatever. So I don't really know like a trigger, sort of.
So you're just really starting out in the process as well, and this sometimes takes time for us to learn. Some of us, it's more the behaviors of this is our go-to and it doesn't matter what it is, and some of us have real triggers that when we put them in, we actually kind of have an allergy to it that stimulates cravings and wanting more of those things. Sometimes it's the Pringle chips for me, and the minute I taste one, I have to finish the whole can. I can't just have one. So certain foods talk to me that I become so obsessed about it that if I have it today, I have to have it tomorrow, and I have to have it the next day, until I reach a point where I've just had so much of it and I can't believe how much I've eaten as well. What are some of yours, Cookie Monster?
So I don't actually, I think you know this. I feel really uncomfortable talking about trigger foods or food in general.
Okay.
But I will say I can binge on anything because like I won't say your name, like you said. So yeah, I can relate to that in that sense. I can binge on anything, even healthy food. I once binged on cabbage, and it was to the point where I was physically sick, like it messed up my thyroid and that kind of stuff. Like that's how bad it was. So I can binge on healthy.
So I can relate to eating for the sake of eating, because there's a certain point where that obsession kicks in, where it just becomes I need to get something into me because I want to numb the feeling or change that way I'm feeling through what I'm putting into my body rather than checking in. This is something I've learned via recovery, because and stepping into recovery, because before I didn't know what was going on. I knew that by putting certain things into my body, I'd gain a certain effect, or it would take away a certain reaction from me, or it would numb me, or it would stop me dealing with what I was dealing with, or it would keep me busy. I'm that type of person that needs to be busy, because it's far easier to be busy than to actually just stop and check in and see what I'm doing, because it took me 42 years to get into the room. I spent so long running away from what I was feeling and where I was in terms of my being, that I had these go-to behaviors that weren't necessarily healthy behaviors. So the one is the physical component, which is, for me, there's definitely certain allergies. If I pick up anything that's white, processed, mine are the rices, the sugars, if I start touching that stuff, I start seeing certain things that happen to me. The yeast, my stomach starts swelling, I start snoring at night. There's certain physical reactions that I actually start getting that also lead into the cravings. But the worst part of it is that mental obsession. That obsession that I just can't have one, and the minute I have one, there's no stopping. It's like that shock, and I can't believe how much I've finished by the time I finish it. So when I look at the Halloween candy and I get stuck in, that becomes, well, I have a little one of these, or I have one of those, and by the time I've finished, I've tasted one of everything from the neighborhood, and my kids don't have much left. So in terms of that process, I know that picking up for me is not an option. And this is what you're talking about, Karen. That point of when we can't pick up, because if we know that we pick up, we know what is going to happen. And how does that look like for you?
It means I don't stop. I go from one thing to the next, and even if it's not one of those top three things, I'm looking for something else. I'm looking for crackers, or I might go to something that is normally quote unquote healthy, but it's still part of that obsession that once I start, I don't stop.
So we have this thing that we cleaned all the snacks out of our house, because I've got kids. I cleaned all the snacks out of the house and was absolutely delicious. So it becomes, I've seen different questions of how do we deal with having other people stop? Like, do we just get rid of everything in the house so it makes it easier for us? But then we also live in a real world. We live in the world that's organic and breathing, and the food for us is only part of the issue. Yes, it does affect us physically, it affects our thinking, it affects our obsession, but if we're not, the first thing is getting clean to the point where we're not picking it up, because we know we pick it up, we start eating uncontrollably, then we start feeling guilty and ashamed, and we start getting demoralized, because then it becomes that whole diet cycle, which is kind of what you're alluding to as well. Because for many of us that have been the serial dieters, everything always started on a Monday, and if I only cut this out of my diet, and I stopped eating this, I will be happy and I'll look fabulous and I'll be awesome. And it's really, the food has got very little to do with it. I mean, we kind of realized it for us that went through weight loss surgery. You know, what you see on the outside isn't necessarily what we're feeling on the inside. So for us that went through the extremes of going through weight loss surgery, all of a sudden you reach that aha point that goes, well, what happens now? Okay, all of a sudden that best friend that we had before, we can't rely on. You know, that go-to behavior of going to the food to feel better or to feel something. You know, I don't know if it was, anyone can relate to this, but not feeling, for me, I was so numb for so long that I would eat to punish myself at certain stages so that I would feel the pain and that I'd be able to feel something. Because even if I was feeling terrible, at least I was feeling something. So I just want to kind of get a check in and just see where everyone was in terms of reading and my rambling.
Someone asked me something interesting tonight at the gym. They were like, we were having a discussion talking about health and things like that, and I was telling this lady my experience. And then she goes, how did you allow yourself to get like that?
What was your experience? Because you never shared your experience. I'm really curious.
Well, you know, it was just a matter of like, you know, I told her, the conversation had started out with like, you know, weight loss, and she said that she was struggling, and, you know, just by superficial things, she looked like a very skinny, like in shape woman. Like she like is one of those people that are at the gym all the time and like, you know, a great physique. And you know, I was saying, you know, I've always struggled with food, and I'd always food was always something that I gravitated towards. And you know, I said that you know, we all have our vices, you know, like mine was food, and it's something that you can physically see. Everybody can see it, you know. I'm a fat woman. You might be something else. It might be drugs. It might be something that is invisible. But mine is apparent. You can see it, and you could judge it almost immediately. And so when she said, like, you know, how did you allow yourself to get so big when I was at like 431 pounds, I told her, I couldn't, first I was taken aback. I wasn't like insulted by the question, but I couldn't really answer the question. I think I kind of mustered up a response like, I don't know, like I don't know, it just happened. You don't really realize, you know, it's not something that you consciously, I mean, you realize that you're overeating and that you're binging and that you are in pain and you have an issue, but weight can pile on so quickly that you just, it's so out of control that you can't really get a hold of it. So yeah, that was.
So I can relate to that, because there reaches a certain stage when it's not that you don't care, it's just that you become so detached.
Yeah.
You know that you're living with the pain, and you know that you're uncomfortable, and you're wearing the same clothes. I mean, it reaches a stage that the clothes in your closet are just going higher and higher. I mean, I've got things in the box sitting here that are 22 wide as well, that were my go-to clothes, that I was buying things that were not snug and things that were loose fitting. I was doing less, I was going less places, but I still felt like the same person. I didn't feel any different in me, but I know what people saw. When I see the pictures of myself and I see how swollen and uncomfortable I was when I was there, I never felt that way. I mean, there was a disconnect. There's definitely a certain disconnect when you go past a certain point.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
You know,
yeah.
It's beyond the physical. And I don't think people understand that, because I think when I was at those stages, I still believed that it was a willpower issue. I thought that I wasn't strong enough, or I was lazy, or what I was doing was definitely because of me. Because if I just found the right diet and I just found the right eating, I knew what I was doing. I mean, I'm sure for you as well, you know what it takes to eat healthy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all of us that struggle with our weight have known this, because we've spent so much time studying it and researching it and trying it and doing different things, that isn't it amazing? Like, I would think about food and I'd gain 5 pounds. I would smell food and I would gain weight. And my husband would just like change one thing in his diet and he'd lose 10 pounds in a week. I mean, it's like the craziest thing. But I'd obsessed to such a point that I think that what you start thinking about, you start manifesting as well. It becomes like the craziest thing.
Yeah.
So if someone would have asked you when you were over 400 pounds, and someone would have had the same conversation with you, because you've come so far in what you've done now, how do you think you would have reacted then? Before you got into the rooms and before you started working on yourself?
I mean, I think I would have been insulted, angry. I would have maybe like teared up. I would, you know, I think I just would have eaten more.
That would have been my go-to thing.
And I wouldn't have been at the gym. But yeah, that would have been my go-to. Like, it would have ruined my whole night. And yeah, because then you know, I think sometimes people think you don't realize that you've gotten out of control, but it's a matter of like, of course you realize it, but you don't really know how to change, but you know how to change it, but you don't have the tools or the, you know, your perspective hasn't changed. You aren't healthy enough mentally in order to make that change.
You know, I think I reached a point I so demoralized that the things that I was doing was, I was at such a low point at so many different points. I mean, I've been up, I've been down, I've been up, I've been down. I'm like the yo-yo. I'm that pendulum. It always swings. It's always in extremes. And I think I reached a point I was so demoralized that the FUs became like a part of my life. If you said something wrong to me, it was my excuse to eat. You know, everything became a way to punish me because I felt so bad on the inside that it became a way of kind of the one thing that I could control, and I couldn't control it. I mean, this is how crazy my thinking is. So I thought I can control the food, and I couldn't control the food because the food things that I was putting into me were just, I was at a total loss. You know, I'd make these decisions and then I'd find myself at the same point, but my life really was so unmanageable. You know, and I think abstinence in the point where we just white knuckle it in terms of what Karen was saying without being in a program or without having some other go-to tools just becomes another way of dieting. And I think we might be going through those same cycles all over and all over again of why couldn't I do it? I need this now. I'll feel better if I eat it. You ate it. Why did you eat it? You're wrong. You're terrible. You're bad. Why are you picking up? Why couldn't you stay off it? Why are you not fitting into a size 2? I mean, it becomes this crazy conversation that I started having in my head. I mean, I think the minute I started realizing that addiction is a disease, something started shifting. The minute I started realizing that my life is unmanageable and I'm powerless over a disease, something shifted, but I realized that I had choices. I had choices, even though I've got a disease, I've got choices in terms of what I pick up. You know, no one is making me take that food and stick it in my mouth. And funny we're talking about this today, that someone they've been off one of it was a bread, okay, they're off a bread or a substance or something, a starch off for a certain amount of time, and they believe that they can go back and start eating it, which is fine. That's their decision and that's their journey. So, you know, there's certain stages that I wish someone would actually walk around and slap me over the head and go, what are you doing? Okay, take that out of your mouth. But no one actually does that, you know, no one's actually going to follow us. We need to make that conscious decision of, we've lived our life with excuses in what we're doing for so long because our addiction has a voice and it talks to me in my voice. You know, in the beginning when I was younger and I was doing this and I'd go break into my mother's pantry because I was a food thief and I'd sneak food and I'd find ways of getting food and I'd make my friends steal food. I mean, this is crazy. 7 years old, I made a friend of mine steal ice cream and I made her put it in her underwear. So we stole it from the store, okay? And we still laugh about this today, okay? She cried the whole way home, okay? She really cried, and I tell her today we're stealing, okay? She's 7 years old and going to the grocery store and stealing stuff. And I thought that was okay. I mean, that's how messed up my mind really was at that stage. But I think there's also a level of entitlement that I thought that I need to have this and I want to have it now. And that level of feeling that addiction, and my addiction started off as like little Haiti that would come out and say, do you know what, Friday nights you get a free pass because it's a weekend. Let's do the Shabbos special desserts, because Shabbos and Friday night was a special thing in my house, except my mother would shop at like Restaurant Depot and buy boxes of crap. She'd have it locked up inside the pantry, and we'd steal the key and we'd go steal food. So in the beginning it was Friday night was binge night, and then binge to the point of being so uncomfortable that I'd be purging afterwards. But then it started reaching a stage that little Haiti grew up into big Haiti, and we'd go, well, tonight we are binging, and we'd go, I don't want to do it tonight, it's not Friday. We're going, but doesn't matter, I'm not listening to you, you're doing it whenever I want to do it, and it became totally uncontrollable. So I'd eat well in front of other people, I'd hide food at home, go either pick up stuff on the way home, or have a stash at home that no one could touch. No one touched my stash. And then I'd binge and I'd purge on that, and I'd end up feeling terrible. And it was the same cycle. So a substance, when we addicts, it doesn't matter what that substance is, because I was able to swap food for then drugs and then cigarettes and drugs and food, and it's always been similar cycles, but it was always changing the way that I was feeling. I would do anything just not to feel.
In reference to you talking about the like that voice, your addiction, I haven't really fully grasped this concept yet. I think I'm getting there and trying to like cement it in my brain. But is it that this voice is always going to be there, right? You're always going to have this addicted brain that it's just the way the disease is. There's always going to be that voice in your head that says, oh, you deserve this cake, have all of it. Is it then, are you saying that the choice is then yours in which to abstain from that, even though you know, I don't know, it reminds me of the movie A Beautiful Mind. I don't know if anyone's seen it, but he is, I think, schizophrenic, and he sees people, and this is a weird analogy, but he had gone through therapy, and then the people were still always there. He could always see them, and they were like, you know, always around, and then he learned ways in which to ignore them. So is it kind of like that? Like it's always there, but you.
I love this question, and I'll tell you why I love this question. Because as an addict, we don't choose addiction. We don't choose to be addicts to live with guilt, shame, demoralized, and living in pain. It's not something that we choose to do. Our disease is a thinking disease. It's a disease that convinces us that the behaviors that we are doing are healthy for us and good for us if we listen to those voices and we act out on them. So being in recovery, and this is honestly my own personal experience, because I'm not a doctor, I'm not a professional, I can only talk from me and myself and my own experiences. What I found is in the beginning it's difficult abstaining from the foods that speak to me, because they were always my go-to foods. I had to learn new methods of preparing foods, of being able to plan and have meal plans and do things in a way that took my focus off the food onto focusing on being able to do stuff during the day rather than planning the next meal and counting down till the next time I could eat, because it's a total obsession. I also reached the stage, so at the beginning I'm dealing with two things. I'm dealing with one, realizing that I'm an addict and my life is unmanageable and stepping in and saying I need help. And two is dealing with that abstaining from the foods that have always been my go-to foods, because those were my friends, my little buddies, that like the guys in the movie that would sit on the sofa next to me, and if I'm having a shit day, those are the guys that I'd go to and hang out with. So as I started going through this process, I've realized two things. One is thoughts are not facts. If I think of something, I'm having a bad day and I want to smack Angeli. She's pissing me off, she said something to me and I really want to smack her. I've got two choices. I can either walk up to her and smack her, or I can go, do you know what, I thought of smacking Angeli, but I didn't act on it. It's the same thing with that voice. So we start getting these voices that, because we get these voices, doesn't mean that we have to act on those voices and get into action because it spoke to us. Because the downside of that is, I know the minute that I pick that up, it becomes a downhill spiral that starts with a chip and ends up with me feeling guilty, ashamed, demoralized, and I want to die. I mean, at the end of it, that becomes a cycle, which is the craziest thing, because my brain thinks of killing me at certain times, thinking that it can actually exist without this body. You know, there's definitely a thinking disease that comes into my thinking, because normal people don't have the thoughts that I have. They don't have thoughts of sitting down and eating and continually eating even if they're full. They don't think of throwing up after they've eaten. They don't even think of planning to eat instead of going out and hanging with their friends, because can I tell you, I used to look forward to parties. And that was a party of one. That was a party that would happen in my room with my favorite TV shows. I would have the ice cream and the foods lined up. God forbid my kids even try to touch my stash. Okay, God forbid anyone try to eat anything off my plate. You know, it became this whole thing of all this noise inside my head. That isn't normal. You know, normal people that I look at can have a normal life. They can sit down, they can have a bite of something and go, not in the mood, don't feel like it, or no, I don't want any of that. I look at someone eating cake and I go, are you going to finish that slice?
Yeah.
How do you leave that on the plate? Okay, and at times I would find a way to hide that so I could eat it later after everyone left, even though you've had a bite of it or you've eaten some of it.
But I feel like everybody's like that though. Or maybe I don't know normal people who eat normally. Because I feel like everyone that I know, or at least maybe it's just the culture, they would be like, I think about food all the time, and then, but maybe they're just saying it differently than people who are addicted to food are. Do you know what I mean?
So let me turn the analogy around. So when I was smoking pot, all my friends smoked pot. Every single one of my friends, basically, that I chose to hang out with, smoked pot. Because those were the people I was choosing to hang out with, because then I always had an excuse to use. I was being surrounded by like-minded people, and it just became more comfortable to do it than smoking pot around people who didn't smoke pot. I mean, it just became one of those things. So there's definitely, for me, when I look at my family, I'd say I'm a third generation addict, without a question of a doubt. But I also need to put things into perspective, because I honestly think that any type of compulsive behavior is because something else is broken. And addicts are people who are spiritually broken. That's what I honestly believe. And this is not a God program, or whatever your higher power is and whatever you go to is fine. But there's some kind of imbalance, because people who are balanced, when I was happy, I wasn't picking up the food. I wasn't planning my next meals. When I was living a balanced life, that I was getting stuff done, I was doing all the stuff I needed to do, I was happy on the inside, I could sit down and eat a meal and be content with a meal. But it didn't last for very long. That started happening after 7.5 years old. Then all of that started changing. You know, my grandparents were obsessed with food. If my grandmother looked at me, she'd go, you look pale, eat something. You know, you go to a Jewish funeral, it's all about the food afterwards. You know, I look at it, I'm second generation bariatric surgery. You know, I look at what my grandparents went through. They were Holocaust survivors. They came out of the Holocaust. The one thing they never taught any of us to do, and that one thing they could never do, was discuss your emotions, because emotions were so painful for them that they never did that. Is that the reason I'm an addict? No, because my one sister's fine and I'm not. You know, so I think that, and I've met people that they're the only addicts in their family. Does addiction run in families? Very often it does. Is it a learned behavior? I don't know, because I know that I enabled my kids. I was that mother that when I wanted to binge, if I was feeling bad, I'd be barking at my kids or behaving in a way that wasn't really how I wanted to behave. But I could always take them for the milkshake, or I could always take them through the drive-through, or do something with them. If we go to the doctor and you get a shot, I'll get you something. We used to get lollipops at the doctor when they gave you a shot. You know, we'd go to the dentist, they would give you candy when I was younger, okay? And that was a way that we were taught. We were taught that to feel better, we ate something. There are millions of people that don't. The millions of people that will go watch a sunset, or take a walk, or read a book, or go paint something, or write something, or hang out with a friend, or do stuff that doesn't revolve around food. So I think there could be the cultural element, but then some of us just take it that much further, because I can promise you one thing. Even if I abstain of my foods, the foods that speak to me, that once I get started on them, I just can't stop. And I see it physically. I start seeing it in myself, that if I start eating bread, I start swelling up. My stomach gets bloated. I start feeling uncomfortable. I didn't eat enough of this crap. I feel it in my face. I feel it in my fingers. I feel it in my joints. I start feeling it in different places in my body. I don't know if I'm gluten-free or lactose intolerant. Who knows? All I know is there's certain things that if I choose to put in my body, they just have a reaction with me. And no matter how long I stay off it, if I start picking up and I think in my head, and my disease says to me, do you know what? You lost 80 pounds. You can go eat the bread. And the minute I start picking it up, then it starts becoming, well, if I can swap the bread and do this, then I can do this, and I can do this. And it becomes that whole obsession, and it's not about the bread. And then it becomes, why am I doing this? And why am I start obsessing about it? And it becomes, what else is going on? And you know what? I'm nervous and anxious because Felice isn't sitting here. And I found myself starting to head towards the refrigerator. And I start telling myself that I'm hungry. And you know what? It's not real hunger. Because I know that I had a protein bar at about 4 o'clock and I'm eating dinner and it's ready. Do you know, when I actually think about the amount of food that I consume, I have to use an app because my mind tells me I ate nothing the whole day. And when I start looking at the calories that I've actually consumed and what I've consumed, I know I've eaten something. You know, for some of us that are anorexic, like I look at Felice, she says she's got to hold up the jeans and go, a fat person can't fit into these jeans. I'll hold up my jeans that are the size 22 wide jeans and I go, well, maybe it's a matter of time before I get back into them. And that becomes one of my fears. So it becomes the other side of it. I'm not a size 22, but I can't let them go out of my closet. I've got a little village that lives inside my closet. It starts at like a size 4 and goes all the way up to a size 22. Because it is that easy for me to get back into the size 22. And I get what you say about the mind. You know, we don't see how quickly we slide into stuff, and it's not, we're obsessed with the scale up until it reaches a certain point. I love the scale when I'm thin. It's a love-hate relationship when I'm on a diet because they're 1 pound up and it could be anything. It could be water retention. It could be I smelled something I shouldn't have smelled and I gained 5 pounds. You know that feeling, okay? It becomes a love-hate obsession. So I'm a very compulsive, anal retentive person. So I see my addiction in other things. The food for me was how it played out physically. That became really more socially acceptable. But I can see it in other things. I get crazy about other people's behaviors if I let them. Because I'm crazy about my behaviors. I need things done in a certain way, in a certain time, because I need them done, and that's the type of person I am. I'm an addict. I need that instant gratification. I need to control my world. I'm very impulsive. But that same thing plays out with food, and food for me is, it's going to land us in the same place. We're going to land up at doctors, we're going to land up in hospitals, and it's going to kill us. You know, if we let our addiction get out of hand, it reaches a stage that it actually kills us. There are not many people who have been obese most of their lives, have done the yo-yo and serial dieting past 70 who don't have major health issues. And it either comes up as diabetes, and it comes up as heart disease, and it comes up as so many different things. When my colon burst 4 years ago, and I was walking around with a colostomy bag, I couldn't clean my butt. I had to stand in the shower with the shower head because I couldn't reach it to be able to do that. I was that big. I couldn't bend down to put on my shoes properly because I was that big and I couldn't reach my shoes. I used to choose the shoes according to how easy they were to slip on because I couldn't put them on. So coming back to your question, is this a normal brain? I don't know. I don't think so. So what compelled you to show up here all the time? I mean, what compels us to actually step into these rooms?
I think it's a change is needed. Like, I think Felice said this the other day about when I was like, oh yeah, I was a happy fat girl, and I was like, you know, I don't know, in some aspects, like, I want to say, it's hard to keep yourself in a place where, like, you're always depressed, right? So your brain tries to, like, do things that make you feel happy, so you eat, or you, like, you know, sitting in the moment, you don't think it's destructive, because it makes you happy. But reflecting on that, where I sit now, I have a different perspective on it. But you know, I made a change for my life because I needed it, and I was so uncomfortable, and I was in pain all the time, and I didn't feel like I was living my purpose or living my best life, or you know, whatever the cliche is, and a change needed to be made ASAP. So um, when I was talking with that lady at the gym, she had also said, well, so you're going to these support groups, so then they fixed you now, why don't you stop going? And I was like, oh, I know. And I was like, well, do you stop going to the gym? Like, you look like a very fit lady. Like, do you stop going? And then she was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. So, yeah, that's why I think I have to keep coming, because every day you work on yourself and you try to be better.
And it comes back to your question as well. I mean, for all of us, I think we reach that point where the pain is so bad that we needed to stop. You know, I think every single addict reaches that stage where we just want to either kill ourselves or do something so drastic. And we go, weight loss surgery, for most people don't realize, is the rehab for a food addict. None of us go for weight loss surgery if we're 120 pounds and we're 5'8", okay, or 5'9", okay. None of us are going to go sign up to have 75% of our stomach taken out or our colon. Do you know what I'm saying? None of us are signing up to get mutilated because we feel great on the outside and look fantastic. So for us, weight loss surgery becomes an absolute rehab. It becomes something that if I could have wired my mouth shut, I would have gone to such drastic measures. If I look how much money I spent over the years in trying to look like something else and be like something else and essentially feel like something else. And I'd feel great for a very short period of time, and then I wouldn't, because I'd be giving myself that free pass. And this comes back to where Karen's first thing as well, that if we keep repeating the same behaviors that we did that brought us into the rooms, we're going to end up at the same point that brought us to the rooms. So even though we may be feeling good for a certain point, and I am arrogant and I've got a huge ego, and I go, do you know what, I've got this. I'm at the weight I want to be, I'm feeling good, I've been abstaining for a while, my mind is clear, I'm thinking clearly, I'm not getting those cravings, I'm getting thoughts, but thoughts are not facts. I'm at the stage that they're not cravings, that I'm compelled into action. You know, I am human. I walk past a bakery, I love the smell of bread. It doesn't make me walk in and buy it, because that to me is, that action in itself just takes me down a whole route I don't want to head into. But there's definitely those thoughts that, oh, I've got this, I'm now recovered, I'm now okay, and I can wing this and I can do it on my own. That addiction, I don't think ever leaves us though. Because it was so easy for me to get to that point, it's so easy for me to get back there again.
And your brain knows that, your addicted brain knows more than your clean brain. I've been living a life for 30 years as an addicted person. Then I have these couple months of, being a person who's trying to get into recovery and staying clean. So the norm for my brain is addiction.
And you know what my addicted brain does? It lies. I am the biggest liar you have ever come across. When I'm in addictive mode, when I'm in action, I will lie to everybody, including myself. I will lie to the person at the drive-thru. I'm picking this up for my kids. I haven't eaten all day. I've had nothing to eat today. Okay, I have to grab this chocolate bar. I have to do this. I come up with excuses and I don't stop lying to myself consistently. So if I know that I'm a liar, then I know that that brain of mine at certain stages, I just have to go, shut up. It's like, I hear you. Okay, I got what you're saying, but in the greater scheme of things, I just have to say no to certain things, because I know I'm never ever going to be normal. I've never been normal up until this point, okay? It's not going to start happening now. And I think part of that is we con ourselves into believing that we've got this under our belt, that it's okay, and that slide becomes so quick. In the beginning, diets used to work for me. They'd last longer. The effects would last longer. So when I first started dieting, the diet would last longer. I'd lose the weight, I'd stay like that for a year or two. Then I'd slide off the diet and start eating normally, and then it would last 6 months, and then it would last a week, a month, 2 days, and then the next day I'm like got crazy cravings. I'm going, what the hell just happened? I used to be able to, I had the best willpower. I could stick on diets forever, okay? So I think there becomes like that point where it's almost like any drug user or any substance, when you're abusing substances, it's great in the beginning and it's fun in the beginning, and then it's just not fun anymore. I'm not getting those effects. I'm not getting high, I'm not getting happy, I'm not getting sociable. In fact, I'm less sociable because I'm hiding in my room wearing the same 3 outfits I've been wearing for the last 3 weeks, okay? It's the same clothes that are being rotated. And can I tell you, most of the clothes in my closet are still black. You know, I heard black was slimming once, okay? Everything's black, okay? So I'm still trying to migrate and put color into my closet. I still haven't got to that point. You know, and the funny thing is, I was chatting to a friend of mine as well, and we were saying, when people give me or give us compliments, we have a really hard time accepting them. Because I don't see myself other than the person that used to be when I was like 250, 260 pounds. I'm still that same person. You know, when people see me differently, I think I used to be I was a much happier, nicer person at that point because I was pretending to be than I am now in some ways. And I think part of that process was also getting honest with myself, of being able to be clear and have more realistic conversations with people. You know, I learned so much from my friends in recovery because some of them are a lot more courageous and braver than I am. And they've come so much further in different ways in their recovery to be able to tell you straight up, I don't want to hang out with you today because I don't feel like it. Or what you said really hurt my feelings, even though there's a chance you might not want to be my friend anymore. I could never have those conversations because I wanted everyone to like me. I still battle with those conversations. So I think the whole process it's a learning process, and it would just be so much easier to go back to the default. I've lost friends because of the way that I don't eat anymore. People get uncomfortable because of the way that I don't eat. I paid a lot of money to eat a little bit of food, okay? I really spent an absolute fortune to have most of my stomach removed so I could eat a little bit of food. But the thing is, I know that if I start going back to those go-to habits of doing the sodas and eating all the stuff that I'm not supposed to have, when they told me in my protocols that I can't have the popcorn and I can't do, they didn't tell me because they're punishing me. They know that my stomach is elastic, and if I start doing the same things as I was doing before, I'm going to land up in exactly the same point that I was at before. So I think we deal with I think our disease is really insidious. You know, we have these, Felicia and I have these like half-hearted fights and arguments and jokes about her disease and her addiction being worse than mine. You know, drugs, alcohol, food. I just think as food addicts, we don't always take our disease that seriously. But when you look at us, we are unhealthy. You know, a friend of mine's brother just passed away, he's 52 years old. You know, these things, heart attacks happen quickly, diabetes happens quickly. It's things that once we start doing things to our bodies weren't made to deal with the things that we put it under. And people don't take it seriously because we don't take it seriously. We think that it's willpower, and we think that it's all other things. And we've got stinking thinking. We've got a warped way of seeing ourselves, and it's not just the world, it's ourselves as well. And I honestly believe that people that love us are going to love us irrespective. Our friends that are real friends, that are unconditional friends, are going to love us for the people that we are, because they don't see what we are on the inside and not what we present on the outside, because we all present really well. Most of us are like the overachievers and the super achievers at work and super organized and brilliant mothers and amazing wives and all these amazing things, and then we really eat how we feel and we just feel terrible on the inside. You know, and I honestly believe that the pain that I used to be on the inside, I wore on the outside. It just showed up in the pounds that I was carrying. That's how much pain I was really carrying, with all those additional pounds and pounds of weight on the outside. So how do we move forward? Becomes a big question. We do what we do. The only way an addict recovers is by hanging out with other addicts, and with other addicts in recovery, because no one understands us like we understand each other. I guarantee there's nothing that you've done that I haven't done, or thought about doing, or tried doing, okay? At some stage we're all doing very similar things. And as much as we talk to normal people about it, a lot of people don't get it. You know, for us, I look at the people around me who've never struggled with their weight. My husband's never had an issue. You know, for him, he's not an addict. He has his own issues, but it's got nothing to do with addiction. His own shtick. But so he doesn't understand it. He doesn't understand how I'd eat off other people's plates and wouldn't let him see, or go throw up in the bathroom after everyone's gone to bed, or you know, plan my time so I'd be able to feed my addiction. No one understood that, other than if I tell you in the room, I see people nodding their heads and knowing exactly what it means, because we've done it. So when we got a thinking disease, I think the more we share our stories and the more we talk to each other, in the beginning, our addiction blocks our ears. I honestly believe that it makes us deaf, because it's been so much part of our world that we have so many excuses, and that knowing that we've got to be honest and something has to change is something that stops us and gets us stuck in moving forward, because it scared the crap out of me. I didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know how much of my best friend I need to give up. I didn't know how bad Haiti was on the inside, because you know what, I felt so bad on the inside until I realized, do you know what, Haiti is pretty awesome on the inside. It's just getting to know her that's a little trying. I don't know what I hid from for so long. And it's not easy all the time. There's shit that I've carried around for years. I'm emotionally attached to so much stuff and so much baggage. And we were saying, actually, I just wanted to say this. I kind of figured his name's Douglas, because you know the glass is either half full, half empty, depending on how we look at it. And I kind of figured, like, I'm like that dung beetle, so I'd stick on the anxiety, and I'd stick on the neurosis, and I'd stick on the pain, and stick on the burger, and stick on the chips, and stick on all the other stuff, and carry all this baggage around. And that's what I did. I mean, that's how I carried it. That's how I carried my addiction, is inside. And it was eating me up on the inside, and it's still, it's liberating at times, and it's great at times, and other times it sucks. Other times working the program really is the scariest thing, because the stuff that comes out, I never knew was there. You know, the only way we're really going to start moving forward and getting clear of stuff is if we really start dealing with stuff, and no one can fix it. I'm the addict. I want to take a pill and make everything better and wave that magic wand and do like Disney did, and everything's magical. Yeah.
I have something to say.
Sure.
So you and I had a conversation yesterday, and I was super scared because I thought you were going to be mad at me, but it turned out great. We actually came out of it both feeling a lot better, and I feel closer to you. And so I think that part of that has to do with working in recovery as well, because before, 6 months ago, I don't think I could have done that. Like, I could barely have done it yesterday, but I did it. But I mean, to actually think about it and then actually go through with it and say what I had to say and, you know, talk to you, I think it was a big deal, because if I didn't do the necessary work to get to the point where I was at, to realize that it's okay to do what I need to do for me, I wouldn't have done it.
I loved what you did yesterday, I must tell you, because I've lost friends as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've lost friends over time by being honest with them, or sharing feelings, or them making assumptions about me and jumping to conclusions. I've lost friends, and it's really held me back in explaining, addressing things of how I feel with people, and I still hold a lot of emotional baggage with them, and it's something that I'm working through. But also, I never realized how my behaviors affect other people. You know, when I'm anxious and I'm stressed out, I don't always talk in the same tone or in the same way, and it definitely affects the people around me, whereas in my ears I don't hear it. And sometimes we just need to check in. I mean, sometimes just being able to, and having that honesty is definitely elevates us to a different level. I feel closer to you, and I respect you, and I respect your courage, because I don't know if I would have had the same conversation. I haven't reached, you know, that's a beautiful thing about recovery and what we do. Not everyone is at the same point at the same time, but we all get here at certain stages in certain places, and we work through it, and we help each other become more courageous and more honest. And the best friends I've ever had are in these rooms. I must tell you, the unconditional love and the people that are advocating for my success are the people that I've met in the rooms. It's totally different. I was surrounded by friends that looked at me and saw me in a certain way, and wanted stuff or love me because of stuff I did, or it was very conditional. This is purely people who just want me to do well and be well, and I think we all come from the same place. You know, we all want to be healthy and happy at the end of the day. And that's why we do what we do. I love you, Ed.
I love you too.
So, Karen, I just wanted to check in with you because I've been talking a lot. I like to talk. Tell me where you're at, sweetie.
It's just getting hard. I wish I was better at reaching out to one of you to talk, because I don't really have anyone here. I don't know whether I need a sponsor. Do I need to go to OA? Do I need to just reach out to the community more? I guess I don't know what to do at this point.
Okay, I'm going to give you a couple of things. One is you in our group, you're in the workshop group, and you've got the WhatsApp app. Use it. It's there for a reason. You can call anyone on that WhatsApp. You just press dial and it will call them directly. None of us will not answer your call. And if we don't answer straight away, we will call you back.
Okay.
Use it. We are here for you, and just reach out and talk to us.
Okay.
Okay, you're getting the sponsorship by doing what you're doing. You're working the program. Felice is normally here. So you've got Felice, you've got me, you've got Angeli, you've got any of us. Just call us anytime. We are always here. Okay?
Thanks.
Just reach out. We love you and we want you to do well.
Also, you can post on downsizing, weight loss,
And you
if
can
you're
also,
comfortable.
right, and you can also, if you're comfortable, post on downsizing weight loss, because you're not the only person struggling with this.
Yeah.
A lot of us have been eating our feelings so long we don't know how to express them.
I know. I don't know what to do with myself when I'm not eating.
Right, so it becomes other things, talking, and when we're not talking, it's, you know, it also becomes a very fine line between filling that void with something else that becomes compulsive. So I think we also need to be cognizant of it, but I think doing things that make us feel happy, that don't do with food, in the beginning build happy, healthier alternatives. For me, it's making greeting cards, taking the dog for a walk, watching the sunset. There are other things, but I also tend to be compulsive, so I've got to be a little careful on what I'm doing, because we are addicts. But we are here, and let's discuss that further on Saturday, because I definitely think it affects a lot of us.
Yes.
Okay, call us, we're here.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Before we close, we have a couple of people asking what was the name of the book you read the excerpt from?
The book I was reading is Living Clean, The Journey Continues. It is an NA book. I am an addict, I do go to meetings. It's a fabulous book, by the way. There's great reads out there. They're amazing books. Addiction is addiction is addiction. So it doesn't matter where you're getting your input from. It's the same behaviors, it's the same thought process, it's the same things that bring us into the rooms. So you can get that anywhere. You can get it on Amazon, you can get it at meetings, it's always available. You can also download it for Kindle. But I also want to do a quick shout out to our friend and partner, Felice. We miss you, love. I'm going to read something to you in a second. I just want to remind everyone we have a meeting Sunday 9 a.m. Our workshop is ongoing. Unfortunately, no one else can join the workshop anymore because we're in a process and we do step work. And we are ahead, but there will be another one hopefully in January. We keep them small group because we really want to focus on recovery and give everyone the maximum attention. I just want to say, Felice, we love you. We missed you tonight, and I know this is special for you, and that's why we wanted to read it. I carry your heart with me. Carry it in. This is by E.E. Cummings. I carry your heart with me. I carry it in my heart. I'm never without it. Anywhere I go, you go, my dear. And whatever is done by only me is your doing, my darling. I fear no fate, for you are my fate, my sweet. I want no world, for beauty you are my world, my true. And it's you are whatever a moon has always meant, and whatever a sun will always sing is you. Here is the deepest secret nobody knows. Here is the root of the root, and the bud of the bud, and the sky of the sky of a tree called life, which grows higher than soul can hope or mind can hide. And this is the wonder that keeps the stars apart. I carry your heart, I carry it in my heart. You're one of the best friends, the most unbelievable people, and my heart's with you just really during this difficult time. as is Angela's and all of us. We miss you and we look forward to seeing you again on Sunday. And peace out, everybody, and thank you for joining us. Cheers.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.